Hi, I'm Arthur Benjamin, and I'm here again with Farah White. And each week, we take you on a journey into the world of animal rescue and animal advocacy. And this week is a very special journey where Farah and I went clear to the Gulf of St. Lawrence to rescue the harp seals.
Which there are no words truly to express, although we're going to try to come up with some to express what this was like.
You're looking at a map, and Prince Edward Island and Charlottetown is the closest town, and we went on helicopter. We could talk about how we got there, but we went by helicopter out about 100 miles north of Prince Edward Island and about 60 miles east onto what looked like white ground covered by snow.
Yeah, now you can see the clip now that shows that's part of the helicopter ride out, and you're seeing already where a lot of the ice isn't as solid as it used to be 20 years ago.
20 years ago, they said that you could drive a truck from Prince Edward Island out to this area, and this year was cooler. The last 3 years, none of this was there. In fact, when we were standing on the ice and I looked through one of those sealed blowholes, the ice was this thick, less than 3 inches, that we were standing on in a wonderland that looked like a moonscape.
It really did feel like being on a different planet. I tell you what was crazy is when the helicopter landed, the pilot actually did a little bounce on the ice to see if we were going to break through or if it was going to hold.
They also told us if at any point the propellers started turning on the helicopter to run for the helicopter because the helicopter would be taking off. So it was not without trials and tribulations to get there. I started out in Savannah, Georgia, and it was the day of the tornadoes.
Yes, all the storms.
And my plane came in looking like it had been riddled with bullets. It had run through the hail from the tornado, and I waited 11 hours in Savannah and then another 5 hours in Atlanta, and wound up at Montreal at 5 o'clock in the morning before getting the plane the next day to Charlottetown to meet the helicopters. So this was quite a trip for one day.
Yeah.
One glorious day.
Absolutely. Well, really for 2 hours.
Well, 2 hours of
on the ice.
But it was truly an exhausting trip out and an exhausting. We walked for 3/4 of a mile when we left the helicopter, and as we went along, we had to test the ice with poles because there was a chance that we would break through at some point.
Yeah, we had to follow a guide. Actually, you can see here, we're following closely, and they've got those poles, and they're kind of poking the ice to see if it was going to give way, because it's thinner in some areas and a little stronger in other areas.
And I'm sure it gave you great comfort when they said if your boot goes through the ice, step back, don't step forward.
Don't take another step forward. That's exactly what they said. And those orange suits that you're seeing, those fashionable, gorgeous orange suits, pretty much provided us with 10 minutes of life if we actually went into the water.
And a few hours of life if it got cold and they had to send another helicopter to pick us up because the closest helicopter was 2 hours away.
Yeah.
So you're out there knowing that you're doing something. We were very privileged.
We were very, very privileged. And what's amazing about this is, so these little baby seals that we went and saw, they live in this environment. And the past 3 years, they haven't even had that ice to be on that environment.
Which is really sad, because it takes a little baby seal like you're looking at right now. It takes that seal between 3 and 6 weeks to learn to swim. In 12 days, it loses its white hair, which we're going to get to.
Right.
And then it's a gray seal. It's a harp seal, but it's a gray seal. And unfortunately, that is the prognostication that it can be hunted. And the Canadian seal hunt is why we were really there. We were there because the Humane Society of the United States has worked so hard for the last 8-10 years to end the seal hunt, the Canadian seal hunt, and it is no hunt at all.
No, it's not a hunt at all. It's actually more like a massacre. And I learned so much through all of this because I had no idea as far as the subsidies. And they get a fisherman's license. It's a fishing license.
And these are mammals.
To hunt these beautiful
These are mammals,
little mammals,
just like we are. They sound, you said it sounds like a baby nursery.
It's like a baby nursery.
The seals you saw us petting or getting close to on those shots that you looked at, which we did pet, were all of 2 days old.
Yeah, and we'll end up showing some clips. Actually, there's a couple of clips that you can see where we're actually getting out and getting close to these seals. So this guy, I actually have a camera on my head here. That's Frederick. I love him so much. Look at him. He's so relaxed. I laid next to him for probably 40 minutes. Look at him. His little
I had to
umbilical
take him
cord.
out of her orange suit so that she'd leave him behind.
I'm telling you, I could have gone to jail for either defending him or taking him with me. But he was so sweetie pie. He was ready for nap time right about there.
And the nice thing for Frederick is the ice is going to melt, and it's going to melt after Frederick learns to swim.
Yeah.
So Frederick won't be able to be hunted this year.
See, that was such a relief, to be honest, just knowing that one, because you don't know. That's what was so scary about it, is the day before. So while you were doing planes, trains, and automobiles trying to get there, I was there, but they were talking about the fishermen had said that they were going to do a hail out. I think they call it a hail out. They have to give a hail out if they have intention of going to hunt.
And they were going for the gray seals
on the other side of the island, which just put me in a panic.
And again, this isn't a hunt. This is a 12-day to 3-month-old seal that is gray, that looks like the seals you looked at in white. All they've done is lost some baby white hair in 12 days. And their license gives them the right to club with a large club with a heavy metal weight on the end, to club these seals or shoot them.
Look at that. I mean, it's like a
defenseless
puppy. It's like a puppy with no arms and no legs. Literally, it can't go anywhere. They can't go anywhere. They can barely move around. And the fact that there really is no market for these products.
That's a mom and a pup feeding right now.
It really is just, I mean,
that's why this is called the
grotesque thing.
That's why this is called the seal nursery. This is a nursery. This is literally thousands of miles of ice with very sparse seals. There's a mom sticking her head through the blowhole, checking on her pup to make sure that we weren't doing anything. But they're they're non-defensive. Even the mothers didn't come near us, and they let us pet the pups. And the pups, when they move, that's about how fast they move.
Yeah, they can't go anywhere. So to think that these guys literally pull up in their boats, you know, and get out and get on the ice, and they run and they go hit.
They go from one to the next to the next. And the sad thing that we learned is that a seal can hold its breath for 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And so where a human being would pass in a few minutes, a seal takes between 15 and 30 minutes to pass. And during that time, these little pups, and that's why we were there, American Dog Rescue, these are called the sea dogs and the pups. And they suffer grotesquely for 30 minutes. And many of them are skinned alive because they have not died yet when they take their skins.
They do.
And this has to stop. And that was the reason for our trip. Now you might say, why didn't you go during the hunt? Well, that's real easy. There are only about a dozen licenses issued a year to observe the hunt. And the HSUS team has those licenses. They're led by Rebecca Allworth, who is the HSUS Canadian director. And she has been doing this and watching that brutality for the past 8 years. And it is the hardest thing. I've watched tapes of it. We won't show it here because there are kids at home. But she has watched this for 8 years. And the only thing she can say as she watches the passing and watches the brutality is that she will be back every year until it's over. And a little later in the show, we're going to tell you how you can be part of ending it.
Well, and these fishermen, these boats, they pull up. If they're not iced in, they pull up. And Rebecca is there with her boat filming it because she wants these people to be accountable for that. I mean, she wants them to know that, you know, the world is watching. And they do. They act like they're hiding, and they come up, they've threatened her. They've tried to ram her boat.
Well, we're not going to be very popular in Canada for this
you
show.
know what?
But,
I'll live.
But the Canadian government has fostered this with subsidies. You think of the farm subsidies in this country. There is no market anymore for this fur. It all started when there were oil lamps, and the blubber was used, or the seal fur was used to light our way and to heat our homes. And there might have been some excuse for taking the older seals for that, but to take these young pups, there's never been a really good excuse for that. But then they were used for fur. They created a fashion market. And fur was bought all over the world, and the United States was one of the first countries to say this is barbaric and end it. Then the European Union ended it. recently, China outlawed it, and now Russia has outlawed fur. It's a felony to buy fur in these countries. Seal fur.
Seal fur.
And it's that shiny, short, gray fur. It's not even all that attractive. They've made it attractive. And so there's no market for it. So the farmers, the fishermen, have, by lobbying, gotten the provincial governments and the Canadian government to underwrite subsidies to continue this hunt, which takes the lives of 250 to 400,000 pups a year. That's an average of 300,000 over the last 3 years, and global warming has played its part.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's another scary part is, you know, I guess the Humane Society has tried to go out and do the trip that we did the last 2 or 3 years, and they couldn't do it because there was no ice.
And that means that all those pups drowned, which I would say is horrible, but it's a far better outcome.
Well, you know what? That's nature. I mean,
Right.
I'm trying to be realistic about this. I don't have a problem with nature. Nature is the most beautiful and the most ugly thing, you know, at the same time, but it's nature. But the fact that you're thinking about the Canadian government that's doing the subsidies, and we're talking like millions of dollars. It's not just a small amount of money. They could put that money towards cancer research or, you know, something medical or something important. There is no reason at all for them to do this. The sooner that they stop this, the better off. You know, let's put it this way: with global warming, the seals may or may not become extinct anyway. In what do you think? How many years? Their numbers are dwindling.
There's no way to tell. They're dwindling.
But they don't have a place to go give birth.
But part of this is the fishermen say, well, you're taking away our income. Well, sealing accounts for less than 5% of a Canadian fisherman in those provinces only income. So it's to stop it would be a 5% tax. And if the Canadian government wants to subsidize it, buy back the licenses with that money in this year and end the hunt. Yeah. We call on American Dog Rescue, Arthur Benjamin and Farah White call on the Canadian ministers to step forward and become again part of humanity, part of the world that cares about each other and about our resources and about our animals.
No, absolutely. And we're going to tell you more ways that you can help and things that you can do and sites in the second half of the show. But one of the things that we're doing and that I've already started doing is to actually boycott restaurants and hotels that buy fish and seafood from the Canadian area.
Right. And people would say, how do you do that? So we're going to give you your first tip on how you can be part of this. If you go to the iPhone store or the Android store, there is an app called Protect Seals. That's just Protect Seals. Downloads very quickly, and it gives you the supermarkets and stores and restaurants that have pledged to not buy Canadian seafood until the Canadian government ends this terrible hunt. And the way that really works, and it's the best tool we found, is the Humane Society of the United States has put this forward. It is their app. And it's actually Humane Society International, the international branch of the Humane Society of the United States. And they have put this app forward so that we can choose where to eat. And therefore, the fishermen feel it far more than the 5% that they lose in terms of their income, because lobster, scallops, cod, salmon, and a variety of other fish listed on that site that are bought in Canada. Now, they can all be bought from the U.S. We have all of the same fish. Sometimes the Canadian is cheaper. Yeah. And so what we want is for people to not buy their fish until they stop brutalizing these seals.
And you should show some more of the pictures while I'm saying the next thing I want to say, because I have to tell you, when the Humane Society, Rebecca in particular, had to explain to me how I couldn't just go Jason Bourne and freak out on these people, because truly that's what I wanted to do. It was my innate response with these babies was just to protect them. I mean, it was alarming how I felt. And I don't know how they sit there and watch that, but I have to tell you, instead of that, they explained, hit these people where it counts. Hit these people in their pocketbook. It really is the only chance these animals have. And I'm not a huge soapbox person, but I definitely fight for animals, and I definitely fight for kids, because those two entities cannot fight for themselves. They cannot even really speak for themselves. So the kids, I mean, the seals, of course, can't
I
speak for
talked about
themselves at
the
all.
licenses that the Humane Society SEAL team has, and they're very few, and they lose them if they do anything to interrupt or interfere with the hunt when it's going on. And I might also say that the Canadian Coast Guard, who is supposed to be neutral in this and not play any role, there is footage every year of the Canadian Coast Guard cutters going through and breaking up the ice in front of these fishermen's boats so that they can get into the areas that the seals are. Without that assistance, again, the Canadian government.
Yeah.
So we call on the Canadian government to increase American tourism, to restore our purchasing of your seafood by doing something. And we're going to give you a way to connect directly with the Prime Minister of Canada in the next segment.
Because truly, that is something they could do. I mean, seriously, look at that. I mean, how could they even consider it? I mean, I understand history. I understand, historically, the entire world has done things that they're ashamed of in our past. But we kind of hope that with time and everything, that we're educated and that we're more responsible and that we're better humans and that we've grown together as a race and a society. And, to think that this is still going on, it truly is barbaric. And, it's real easy to kind of turn the other way or, not focus on things like that. But again, these babies can't fight for themselves.
Well, I remember sitting 4 years ago at a wildlife function with Wayne Pacelli, the CEO of the Humane Society. And Wayne said to me, I want you to go on this trip. It will change your life. And it has changed my life. As much as I do with animals and with dogs, there is nothing more innocent than one of these baby seals. And the thought of them being brutalized is something that I am committed to working for until the day that this hunt is stopped. And I'm praying that it's this year, because the Canadian Prime Minister has the ability to stop it now.
Yep, he completely has the power, can do it easily. Again, all of the subsidy that's going to provide ways for the hunt can actually go to help, give the fishermen a little more incentive monetarily.
So just let me make it clear.
Please.
They're going to go out, these fishermen.
Yeah.
They're going to club all of these seals. They're going to rip their skins off while some of them are alive. And they're going to throw what's left back on the ice to rot.
No, and seriously, and clearly we're not showing any of that footage, but if you are an adult, go Google, go look at these websites. Type in seal hunt into any search engine that you want and watch just 10, 15 seconds of that.
It will change your opinion if you're thinking that, gee, these guys are just talking about something that's gone on forever and just should be left alone. It is not something that should be left alone.
No, and we all have our own problems and we all have our immediate things that are in front of us, but really, you have to kind of think outside of yourself for these type of things. Please look at that little thing basking and rolling around over there. He was so cute.
Wouldn't it be wonderful to have tourism to go see the seals being birthed? Some of these babies were dragging around the umbilical cords in the snow behind them. They hadn't even melted off yet. And we had the privilege of being there.
Absolutely. And we're going to show actually a lot more video and show what it actually looks like to look down into a seal hole. Where
and see the mamas swimming around underneath.
See them swimming around. We've got all of that coming up. And then also the websites. I do want to go ahead and give one, because you can make a pledge. Actually, if you go to www.humanesociety.org/protect seals. So /protect seals.
And the pledge is not about money. The pledge is about not buying Canadian seafood.
That's right. So stay with us. We've got a lot coming up. Back to For the Love of Dogs, and this is our show that we are actually contributing the entire thing to the harp seals and the nursery and the experience that Arthur and I had that the Humane Society actually shared with us.
It was a trip we made to the Gulf of St. Lawrence to witness the birthing of the seals, but what would become or will become the horrific torture of seals, slaughter of seals called the seal hunt. And that will take place, is it April 8th in?
You know what, I think it's so March 24th, 26th, I think is when it starts, and that is in the area where we were.
That's right where we
the
were,
Gulf of St. Lawrence.
and they're saying now that that may melt in time, and that April 8th, Newfoundland opens up, and they're not saying the same thing about that yet. So it's in the hands of the Canadian government and the Canadian ministers, because they have not agreed to a subsidy this year yet. And without the subsidy, there is no hunt.
So seriously, the more you can spread the word and anything at all that you can do to help boycott this, again, we've got links, the Humane Society,
www.hsus.org or www. The Humane Society.
Yes, .org/protect seals, or you can even call 202-452-1100.
Let me repeat that because that's important. 202-452-1100, and on your screen is just put the www in there. humanesociety.org. Protect Seals, and Protect Seals is the app.
Yes.
And that app, which can be downloaded on an Android or a iPhone, not only contains the restaurants and grocery stores that are part of the boycott, but it gives you a chance to sign up and become part of the boycott by pledging not to eat in restaurants or buy fish in grocery stores and restaurants that serve Canadian shellfish from those three provinces, just from those three provinces. And it tells you how to sign up a grocery store or restaurant as well. So you can become as active or passive as you want here, from spreading the word to
downloading the app.
Actually downloading the app or making the pledge, as both Farah and I have, that we won't eat Canadian seafood until this comes to an end.
And I know lots of restaurants and chefs in town that have done that. And they have already just said, no, we're not going to serve this stuff. We're not going to buy this stuff.
And again, that hurts the same people who are killing the seals by taking away their livelihood, the other fish. And I said it was a misinformation. They believe the seals eat their fish. Well, the seals don't take the fish away. The seals take the predators away. There are more fish for them. They haven't studied it. This is folklore, and it is a major change for the way these people have thought for years, but it's only 5% of their income, which they could easily replace.
Right. Well, and years and years and years ago, when they started doing this and handing down the licenses, along the family lines, when the lamps needed that oil to burn, okay, probably not the babies still, but okay. But that was the past, and no longer is that necessary.
So really, Farah and I, our hearts go out, our thanks go out to Rebecca Alworth, who is the Canadian director of HSI, Humane Society International, for taking us on the trip, for providing the information to us, and for teaching us what we needed to know to be able to share it with you. And to Wayne Pacelli, the CEO of the Humane Society of the United States, who works diligently on this, along with the person who does the development on this, Deborah Peoples. And I am very grateful to both of them for how they have coached me to learn about this and furthered the ability for Farah and I to make this trip.
No, absolutely, because you can talk about these things, and you can talk about the grotesqueness of this massacre. Really, I don't even know why they call it a hunt. It's offensive, but to go there and actually see this, and to pet these animals and to hear them breathe. There's actually a clip, I think, that if we could show it for a second, that has a seal on it, and you can actually hear his little breath, and hear him cry. And this is one that's crying. Do you want to maybe show a little audio on that?
They cry just like babies, and it's so important for us to protect them. Again, you can go to www.humanesociety.org/protect seals,
Yes.
or call 202-452-1100. Or you can always go to American Dog Rescue
Yes.
to learn what's going on and to connect with the Humane Society.
And, you know, again, this is something we've dedicated this entire episode to try to help the Humane Society and to really try to reach out to people and let them know that they can do something. You really can contact the Prime Minister. You can send things. You can pledge to boycott the seafood. So you're not helpless. There really is something you can do as to where these babies are helpless.
And on the Humane Society site, under the SEAL campaign, there is a way to send a communication to the Prime Minister of Canada now to say, please stop this brutality.
Yeah, and if you could do that, that would be great. And Arthur and I would thank you immensely.
So join those that are trying to end the brutality, and join Farah and I, and do something. Take the pledge to not buy Canadian seafood or eat it. Download the SEAL app. Write to the Prime Minister, or go to the HSUS website, or visit www.americandogrescue.org. And in Farah's words, follow Twitter, Facebook.
Yes, absolutely. Always. We really could use your support. So friend us on Facebook, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and then look us up on YouTube, because there's some other things there that you might have some interest in. You can also see our upcoming shows and see things that we have in store for you. But again, this one was for the SEALs, so they need your help. We need your help. Anything at all you can do would be appreciated.
Do something.
See you next week.